Welcome to episode 145 of Beyond the Brick. I'm Joshua Hanlon,
And I'm Matthew Kay.
and we'd like to thank Brickmania for supporting this episode of Beyond the Brick. I want to make you aware of their really cool event that's coming up here February 13th through the 15th in Anaheim, California. That's World War Brick. So if you're into LEGO military models and in the Anaheim, California area, definitely encourage you to check that out. There should be some really cool builds there. I'll make sure to have a link to their website where you can get more info about that event and find info for tickets as well if you want to attend. Now, we're very happy to have joining us tonight Wilbert McKinley. He is the founder of TeachFleet.com. He is 55 years old, an engineer, and a member of the Delaware Valley LEGO Users Group. So it's great to have you on the show, Wilbert.
Thank you.
And if you just want to start off by telling us maybe some of your history with LEGO and how that incorporates with your founding of TeachFleet.
Okay. Yeah, I started working with LEGO about 5 years ago. I had an after-school program in South Baltimore, and I wanted to decorate the classroom. So I bought a LEGO kit. It was a Maersk container ship. And
A very good LEGO kit indeed. I
Yes.
have to insert that. That's a fantastic kit.
As a matter of fact, it's so good that I bought two of them.
There you go.
And I put them both together, and I put them in the class, and the kids really liked them. And so they encouraged me to build more. So I combined the two kits into one big ship. And, you know, the kids really liked that. And the big ship, I guess, was about 5 feet long. And the kids liked that so much that I started scratch building LEGO ships after that. So what I would do after work is I would go around to the thrift stores, and I would buy bulk LEGOs, and when I got enough of a particular color, I would build a ship and display it in the classroom. And when I got up to about 30 models, we had an open house, and we had a lot of the kids come in from the neighborhood to look at the models, and they really liked them. And what was interesting was we had laptops in the classroom, but when the kids had free time, they spent more time with the LEGO ship models than they did working on their laptops. So I was convinced that I was really on to something in terms of how to really get through to kids, particularly inner city kids, in terms of something that would really hold their attention. And so I started using the LEGO ships as teaching aids in terms of teaching the kids about transportation and transportation technology. And I also started building airplanes from LEGO. And the kids liked that too. So I was able to teach them about lift and drag and some of the different principles of flight and that type of thing. And so that went along pretty well. And then when the grant ended, by that time, I had about 60, 70 or so models that I had built. And they were literally in my basement collecting dust. So it really bothered me that here they were, but there were really no kids or anybody to really look at them and appreciate them. So I called some people that I knew, some contacts at the Smithsonian, and we threw some ideas around, and we came up with the name TeachFleet, and we came up with a concept for that in terms of how do you connect education with LEGO. And so from that, we started getting into things that were more related to school curriculum.
Okay, so there's a lot of really interesting history there. A lot of really cool stuff that you're doing with Teach Fleet. One thing I wanted to make sure we talked about a little more was kind of your personal history with Lego. Up until about 4 or 5 years ago, you had never even touched a Lego brick before, had you?
That's right. That's right. And the only reason I did was not so much because I really liked Lego or was fascinated by it, but I was really looking for a way to really connect with kids. And so I got the Lego, and when I saw that the kids really enjoyed it, then I just stayed with it. So now I have about 170 or so ships that I've built from Lego.
Wow, yeah, that is really incredible. And I think that's so cool. That's something I always love hearing about when people are using Lego for more than just, obviously it's an awesome building block and it's a lot of fun to play with, but when you use it to kind of, help educate kids or help educate people in general about a topic, I think that's always really cool and something that I hope we see more and more of with Lego in the future, because it's a lot of untapped potential there, especially like you were saying with reaching kids about certain things that they might not otherwise be interested in.
Right, right.
It definitely serves as like maybe like a touchstone. So you can say, oh, well, kids like Lego, and I want to teach kids this, so tie Lego and this together, and everything just starts meshing really well.
Yeah. So a good example of that is tomorrow I'm going to be down in Baltimore City at an inner city elementary middle school, and they have a male mentoring program. So all of my ships are named for women and minority STEM contributors. So for this male mentoring program, I'm going to bring about 6 ships that are named for African American men who made STEM contributions. So, and we can do that for any gender or ethnic subtype. And so we'll be presenting these models along with the biographies to appeal, for instance, in this case, to these inner city black youth. So that's just an example, of how you can use this to reach different types of kids in different situations.
Certainly. And this is something I just kind of want to throw out there that I just something like a question that sort of gnaws away at the back of my head. Just off the wall, do you feel that Lego does enough to reach a broad spectrum of society in terms of a company and a brand? Or do you think it's too comfortable being in like affluent middle class neighborhoods? Do you think it does enough outreach efforts? How do you feel about that? Just throwing that out there.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's really one of the major goals of the Teach Fleet is to really reach underserved and underrepresented schools and communities, and children who really can't afford to buy new Lego sets, for instance. You're absolutely right. A lot of the kids that come to a lot of the Lego brick type events, a lot of these are kids that come from backgrounds where their parents can afford to buy them $100, $200 Lego sets. But we serve a lot of communities and kids who can't really afford that, and they've never really seen Lego, and particularly not Lego builds of this size and sophistication. So I think we really are breaking new ground, particularly in urban environments and environments with a lot of at-risk youth.
Certainly, I mean you're filling a niche that is a big empty void. So kudos to you. That is awesome.
Well, thank you very much.
Mhm. Definitely. And so if you can just try to take us maybe through what when you go into a school or do a program like that, what is the event usually like? How does that usually work as far as reaching out to the kids and showing them the models?
Well, the first thing we start off with is a Lego show, which is like a display. And we can do a display anywhere from a few ships on a few tables in the front of the classroom to an entire college gymnasium floor. So we can do displays, displaying like the full collection with, say, 170 different biographies and 170 different ships, and pretty much reach every type of demographic in one event. So what we'll do tomorrow, for instance, at Franklin Square is we'll display the ships. We'll have the students come and look at the ships, and then we'll have like a question and answer where they'll be able to ask about Lego and how is it and what is it like working with Lego. How did I come to get involved with it? That type of thing. And since it's a male mentoring program, what we'll do from there is, as we talk about the ships, we'll talk about the function. So, for instance, we're going to bring a hospital ship. We're going to bring a icebreaker, for instance. And so the icebreaker, for instance, is named for an African-American Arctic explorer. So we'll talk a little bit about his biography, his roots in Maryland, and all of the ships that we'll bring are named for instance, in this particular case, say African-American men who are from Maryland. So we'll be able to make that local connection to neighborhoods and different things in Maryland, and then also be able to talk about what they did to overcome the hardships in their life to pursue STEM careers. So that's kind of an idea of how we would do it. So we'll talk a little bit about engineering. We'll talk a little bit about geography. Talk about some of the earth sciences and technologies that are involved with some of the ships, and which some of these folks have done in their particular careers.
Mm-hmm. So you can really pinpoint it, like you were saying, with the people, they're from the area, and so you can really pinpoint it to really drive it home as far as good as possible.
Oh, absolutely. And so one of the things we do is we say to kids, if they can do it, you can do it. We have, for instance, one ship that's named for a slave, and this slave, in the early 1800s, his master loaned him to the workshop at the Naval Academy, and he was basically uneducated, but he was really good with his hands. So he built a working steam engine that went into the first steam-powered warship. And so after he finished working that, he went back to the plantation to work for his master, since his master didn't grant him his freedom. So he remembered what he did to build a steam engine. So he built a steam engine, he sold it, and he bought his freedom.
That's a smart guy.
Yeah. So if he could overcome that situation, anybody can overcome almost anything in terms of economic, social, disadvantages.
Mm-hmm. Now, are these ships that you build, are they all, I'm assuming they're all based off of real ships, or are some of these just kind of models you made up in your head? How does that usually work?
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that, because I worked for about 25 years as a ship designer, designing real ships.
There's the connection.
Yeah. So I'm familiar with every type of modern ship there is. So my collection involves everything from tugboats to super tankers to aircraft carriers. So I've got it. I've got a ship right here, for instance. So can you see that?
Yeah, that's quite
Yeah.
large.
Yeah. So yeah, my largest ships are about 2 feet longer than this one, and so my maximum length for a ship model is about 6 feet, and I have several ships that are 5 to 6 feet long, and the reason I stopped at that size is that's about the maximum length that will fit onto most elevators and wind up most staircases to a lot of the classrooms that we visit.
Now, so when you transport these, are they all together, or do you kind of have them in modules, sort of?
No, I transport them all together, and I put these in boxes, and then the boxes go on racks, and I can usually, width-wise, get 2 ships on a rack. So, for instance, in my conversion van, I can get about 40 to 50 models into my high-top conversion van, and I can get about 80 in a U-Haul trailer.
So for the bigger stuff, when you display, that's kind of, you do something like that then?
Yes, yes. So for instance, for tomorrow, when we go to Franklin Square Elementary School, we'll be taking 6 models. Each of those models is about 3 feet long. So we'll be able to get all of those on the floor of the van.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What was that?
Yeah, I said I try to stay away from the really, really large bills, the ones that require a forklift or require large modules to be assembled and that type of thing, because oftentimes we have to get in and get out very quickly. So, for instance, tomorrow's event is just going to basically be one classroom period. So, you've got to be able to set up pretty quick, do your presentation, and then be able to break down very quickly.
Not a lot of time to finesse putting together a bunch of modules, all that kind of stuff, right?
Right, exactly, exactly. And so that's kind of dictated the size and the complexity. So what we did was, instead of building really large builds that are, say, 8 to 10 or 20 feet long, we've concentrated on almost 200 models that are under 7 feet long, and that way what we can do is really appeal to a broad spectrum of people, because people have connections to different types of ships. So, for instance, we have the Staten Island Ferry in the collection. We have a Washington State Ferry. So we might have people come up and say, hey, like when we were in the Meadowlands at Brickfest Live, for instance, we had a lot of kids and people that said, hey, we ride that every day. So, so you can find different things that people relate to, with different types of ships, as opposed to one really large ship.
Have you ever contemplated building like a 12, 15-foot long ship and building like all these separate modules? Has that ever crossed your head and like seriously considered it, or?
It's something I've considered, but it's something I personally stay away from, because the bottom line for me is not to, I guess, impress or fascinate myself or others, but it's really to relate to kids. I mean, it's, to me, and kids have short attention spans. So if you have really one large, big ship, the kids are going to look at that and then they're going to walk away. Yeah. But like when we do the Brickfest Live events, for instance, we'll display 100 ship models with 100 different biographies, and so we'll have people that will stay there for an hour or more. Just because it's just so much to take in. And you can even see from the photograph behind me, when you have this many bills to look at, it's something that's going to really catch your attention for a while.
Totally. It's a really good tactic, yeah.
Yeah. So we really try to focus on that. You know, because you could have a ship, you know, twice as long as some of these ships, but is a person going to look at that larger ship twice as long? Probably
Really?
not.
Not really.
Probably not.
So how many ships have you ever had on display? Like, what's the largest amount of ships at once that you've ever displayed?
We had the entire. At that time, we had 160 ships. This would have been last August, and we had the whole collection on display at Cecil College, and we took up the entire gym floor for that display.
That is impressive. Oh my goodness.
We had 60 tables.
So when you mentioned that
68-foot tables.
That's ridiculous. So how many trips were required?
Say what?
How many trips were required to get them all into the? Did you have to make several trips between your storage facility? Yeah,
with my conversion van, it took me 5 trips.
Oh man.
Bringing 40 to 50 models at a time.
You need an 18-wheeler.
Well, you know what? Believe it or not, like when we do the Brickfest live events, 100 models will fit in a 12 to 14-foot truck. The way we pack them in the boxes and on the racks, it ends up being a compact, efficient way to move our models.
Certainly. Now you mentioned the Brickfest live events, and you mentioned them once or twice, but we've not really had a terribly great amount of people on the show that have actually been to these Brickfest live events, right, Josh?
Yeah, not a whole lot.
So could you maybe just take a moment or two to just describe what those events are like for you?
Yeah, well, it's really great, number one. And, I really want to give a shout out to Chad Collins, who is the promoter of Brickfest Live. He had heard about us, and he invited us to the first event, which was the first Philly Brickfest last year. And we displayed our models there, and they were a big hit. So then he invited us to go to Brickfest Live in Timonium, and so we've done I guess about 4 or 5 Brickfest Live events, and so what they do with some of the events is they have the lugs, so they had Colonial lug, they had Delva lug,
Pen lug.
Pen lug, right. And so, they'll have their bills, and then a lot of vendors come. So
a lot of vendors.
A lot of vendors.
So
it's a great opportunity for people that want to buy parts and clothing and keychains and other type of related Lego items. Then they have some of the franchises. Like Bricks for Kids. They have some publishers there that publish Lego related publications. They have a lot of Lego themed games like Lego Miniature Golf. They have these sort of Lego type derby races where you build the racer out of Legos. And then it goes down a slope track, for instance, and they have build walls and different things like that. So it's a lot of different things for kids to do. I would say that it's probably not they're good for the general public and for families of all ages.
Certainly, yeah. They make a big point of being completely public-centric. They're not geared towards AFOLs. It's not a fan convention.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, it's awesome to get your input on what those events are like. I'm curious myself. So.
Okay. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, with them being relatively new, we haven't been able to, like Matthew said, we haven't been able to get a lot of people on the show that have displayed and been to those events. So it's always nice to hear about new conventions like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And something I was wondering, now obviously you've built so many of these ships, so do you have a process down by now when you decide what ship you want to build next, of kind of how you go about building it? Do you look at blueprints or models, or how does that work?
No, no. I've spent, really my whole life from when I was a teenager looking at ships and watching ships. When I was growing up and I had spare time, I would just go down to the water and just watch the ships. So when I was old enough to get a job, when I was in college, I had a portfolio of ship designs